Welcome back to Business IQ. The advent of the internet proved to be a shuddering jolt to the newspaper business, not the least of which was that the rivers of gold that flowed from the classified advertisements slowed to barely a drip. Job advertisements stolen away by companies like Seek, vehicle sales to companies like carsales.com, and property to sites like realestate.com. My startup profile today is JAGONAL, formed by former workers from Australia's leading property website who saw an opportunity to disrupt the disruptor.
Having worked for REA, very much the business focus was just never on the commercial market. Very much their revenue driver is the residential market. Saw an opportunity where it used to sit there day to day listening to the market, telling us whether it be end users being the tenants or the sticky users being the tenant representatives who represent those blue chips, to agents, to owners, just screaming about the product to a degree, just that they needed something that worked for them. The commercial market is very different from the residential market, and it's just never had the attention. So we saw a need there, and we're filling that gap.
So you were at the company, you then left, you did some other things though before actually starting your company, and you brought together the talent, some of the people you'd worked with at REA. Can you talk through that process? Where did the idea come? How did it actually come about, the idea, and then when did you say, okay, we need to act on this now?
Correct. Well, I mean, I'm more from a design, web services background. So my initial need was, again, there was a gap in like the CRMs. So I went into another startup in that space. I guess disrupted that side of the business as well. That business is now left that business, and Max Sim and Serge Kotleroff, our CEO and marketing manager, we all sort of came together by the stars aligning, all available, all looking at that portal space again in the commercial market that was forgotten about. Said, hey guys, let's get together. We can really, make a go of this thing.
Now, in some ways, starting a website, it can be relatively low cost to entry compared to, say, a traditional industrial company or something like that. But there's still a lot of money that goes into actually developing a product that people can see. When did you need to get investors in, or at what point did you need outside money, and how did you fund the early stages of the development?
Sure. I mean, we got the investors in. We started a seed round, capital raise. And that was all about supporting the product build. Also a new entry, we had to, again, we're going up against some pretty big competitors. So we had to get out there with brand awareness. So we had a small sales team out there hitting the streets, talking to the building owners, talking to agents, getting the word out there of JAGONAL. So the money initially all went towards those things. We trialled some marketing just to make sure we can get our messaging right, and then built the product in stages. So very much through prototypes, putting it out there to the market, seeing the acceptance of those prototypes, and then taking them further.
So, but the very early stages, when you went to the seed round, how did you make those connections? How did you know who to target to ask for money, and what did you show them to demonstrate that you actually had something that potentially was going to have a big payoff?
Well, due to the experience of this team, and as I said myself, very much from a CRM, web services division, Max Sim from a very strong marketing side. He was pretty much one of the main men who put realestate.com.au on the map with his SEO work. He's also done a lot of work for Seek Asia. Our CEO very much knows everything about startups. Again, was working at REA, the corporate team. He helped that product grow as they went internationally. So everyone bought into the team. Very strong core.
So you've been able to contact these people who you'd built up relationships with during your time at REA. I'm interested about their reaction, the REA's reaction to you guys being the upstarts, to coming out and to taking them on, and whether or not they tried to adjust their business model to take away your advantage.
I mean, we're very much being watched. They know who we are. But again, I mean, they can go about their way of business. We're here to do our way of business. So there's space for multiple portals for a landlord to advertise on. So look, they are making adjustments. They are watching us, as I say. I mean, as we're talking about, the funding came from we're lucky that we've got some board members who know people. So a lot of that seed round came from high network families and such. So very fortunate to have some money there to fund the business in its initial stages.
Part of your argument, your point of difference is the technology of the website, this ability to do 3D search, to kind of have an aerial view as it looks, and to have more specific criteria in what people are looking for. I'm wondering whether or not you, having those down pat, you thought about going to one of the big competitors and saying, instead of competing against you, why don't we do a partnership? Was there a thought, or is there a thought of potentially tying yourself up with one of the big market players as an opportunity to help you grow?
Look, there could be, but at the moment we're just doing our own thing. I mean, we need traction and enough to, let them turn their heads and look our way to say, these guys are coming, they're serious. So it's too early, or has been too early, to approach them at that time. So now that we are getting a lot of great traction, we are being supported by the major 4 real estate agencies in this space. The owners are all getting behind it. We have our sticky user groups, which are those tenant representatives who do represent those blue chip companies, the tenants. So with further traction, definitely there could be some future conversations there.
There seems to be a great debate still within the startup scene here in Australia about whether or not you're better off focusing on the local market to start off, betting down success before going overseas, or whether or not it's better to just think global from the get-go, especially when your point of difference is the technology. Sure. Well, you've obviously focused on the Australian market at this point. You've mapped, 5 cities now within Australia. Do you think the way to skyrocket is to go overseas, or do you really need to make sure you're established first?
Look, our focus was always, we all live here, so Australia was obviously, let's get our foothold in this market. Let's get the product right first. So it's like our testing ground. And now we are being approached by overseas agents, to owners, to tenant reps across the globe, whether it be in the US. We've had plenty of people knocking on the door from Southeast Asia, Singapore. There's not a solution out there, a platform, anything like this for what we've seen. So this is, it's very much, get it right here first, and then yes, absolutely, we're thinking big, we want to take it overseas.
Well, one of the big game changers for the Australian real estate market in the last, let's say, 5 years in particular, has been the rise of foreign investment, particularly from China into Australia. Now, one of the advantages of commercial real estate, if we can put it like that, is that it doesn't have the same political consequences as investment in residential real estate. It doesn't have the same rules around foreign ownership. Are you targeting the Chinese market in particular? Because it seems that your product does allow quite an easy entry point into having a look at Australian property.
Absolutely. There's been a recent paper recently by our friends at Cushman & Wakefield who were quoted saying that there's a $73 billion worth of investment money coming into Australia by 2019. So it's a lot of money. So we've got these tools where they can, as we were talking about the technology, they can use our 3D mapping, get a sense of the landscape, hunt around the city, roll over buildings, get quick information, see the splits of the actual office listings, look at view perspectives looking out of the building, to virtual tours going inside the building and doing total walkthroughs. So we're geared up for those international audiences.
Where are you right now as the company starts? We're still in startup mode. You've had seed capital. The company exists. It's doing business. You're not yet profitable, though. How do you see this now playing out? Do you need to be raising more capital? Do you eventually look at an IPO? Where are you at?
So we're just opening up a Series A capital raise now. That money is all towards our future growth. So we can get it. So the product, we've built the product's ready. It's being very well accepted. We've tested the product to the market. It's ticking all the boxes for everyone in the industry as well as those end users. Now that money is all about marketing. We're going to get it out there. It's like the best car sitting in the garage at the moment, so let's unleash this thing. And then also the future growth. So our step over to Southeast Asia, which is our next point of call, unless of course something else comes up. And again, there's been some door knockers, so we're going to take this bigger, we're going to take it overseas. So that's where the money for our Series A is going to go towards.
And that's it for this edition of Business IQ. Thanks for being with us.